The political language that divides us. Tonight's word socialism is the last of this series of videos on the political language that divides us. But I want to start off with a corrective statement, one that some of you may want to argue with me about, but one that hopefully, if you do a little digging on your own, you will find is actually true. Not all socialists are Marxists or Leninists. Gallup has done some research around this idea, and part of that was figuring out the public's concept. What they found is that socialism historically has been associated with the concepts of public or collaborative ownership of property and of natural resources, and that it has long been associated with Marxism and communism. Then in 1949, with the Chinese communists just having taken control of China and the communist Soviet Union creating fear of aggressive effort to spread their ideology, Americans' view of the term socialist embraced the classic elements bound up in those types of movements. But now, almost 70 years later, Gallup finds that Americans' views of socialism have broadened, and while they still are many who view socialism as government control of the economy and as a modified version of communism, or as a system embodying restrictions on freedoms in several ways, an increasing percentage of Americans see it as representing equality and government provision of benefits. This difference in how socialism is viewed within America accounts for why the word socialism has secured a place in our list of political language that divides us. But if you add to that definition of socialism that its literal dictionary meaning also usually includes a statement such that traditional socialism is a stage of a Marxist and Leninist government, and then you add back the fears and the labels of communism, and of course that has long been considered the opposite of our constitutional democratic republic. Wikipedia adds to my understanding, and that is when it says that as a term, socialism represents a broad range of theoretical and historical socioeconomic systems, and it's also been used by many political movements throughout history. So socialism has a range of historical socioeconomic systems, and socialism has also been used by many of the political movements throughout history to describe themselves and their goals. So what's happened is that socialism and all of these uses have generated a variety of types of socialism. That's always good for confusing the language. Even socialist economic systems can be divided into market and non-market socialism. That comes as a surprise, I'm sure, to just many people. And there have been so many political movements such as anarchism, communism, the labor movement, Marxism, social democracy, and syndicalism, whose people have called themselves socialists under all kinds of definitions of the term, that they have actually generated all kinds of debates over the meaning of socialism. So again, there is no wonder why the words socialism and socialist divide us. The chances of having the same meaning, even between two people who claim to be socialists, is pretty small. But it's exactly this diverse use of the word socialism and socialists that make it difficult for cooperation and dialogue and respect and problem solving to occur in American politics today. And if you add to that the media and political parties labeling the core of our divide as a choice between socialist parties or policies and authoritarian rule, you can really get both bases fired up. There are many, many types of socialism. There's utopian socialism, communism, Marxism, Leninism, Stalinism, Maoism, Dengism, Trotskyism, council communism, left communism, this one I have a hard time, autonomism, anarchism, mutualism, collectivism, collectivist anarchism, anarcho-communism, anarcho-syndicalism, individualist anarchism, democratic socialism, social democracy, Europe, eco-socialism, green anarchism, liberal socialism, critical socialism, ethical socialism, libertarian socialism, regional socialism. It goes on and on. Another at least 20 entries. With all of that, it can seem an impossible feat to even find a shared core belief, a shared core of beliefs. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to limit my comments to the core beliefs of democratic socialism. Democratic socialism is characterized by commitment to policies aimed at curbing inequality, eliminating oppression, especially of underprivileged groups, and eradicating poverty. Also, it is characterized as supporting universally acceptable services like elder care, child care, education, healthcare, and workers' compensation. But that still doesn't get us to the core. So again, to try and separate the economic socialists from the democratic socialist government as words and terms, we're going to, a democratic socialist economy, its main features are collective ownership, economic and social political equality, economic planning, no competition, positive role of government, and wages and work according to ability and needs. You can see the economic focus. But here are the core principles of democratic socialist government. In other words, political democratic socialism. Solidarity and community, freedom and equality, rights and duties, trust and cohesion, democracy and civic education, sustainability and responsibility, internationalism and human rights. So what I'd like to do next is here, I'd like to give a little bit of insight into each of those couplings to what they mean. Let's start with solidarity and community. This is going to be a combination of research and a little bit of my own words to smooth out the language. Solidarity and community. Community, not individualism, best ensures the individual's opportunity to live a good life and to fulfill their personal potential. Community best ensures an individual's opportunity to live a good life and fulfill their personal potential. All people have responsibility for one another, especially those who are most vulnerable, and everyone deserves to be treated with respect and dignity. Public welfare is for all of us. That's solidarity and community. Freedom and equality. All people are equal, but this does not mean identical. We have individual dreams and preconditions in our lives. But all children should have the same opportunities of becoming part of society and making the most of their own potential. Everyone should have equal access to shape his or her own life, no matter what one's gender, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, disability, social background, or economic ability. And no one should be treated with injustice or a critical and disrespectful attitude. Again, we're talking core beliefs here of democratic socialism. Rights and duties. With rights come duties. We all have the right to get help when needed, and we all have the responsibility to contribute where we can. We help each other and make demands on one another. Working is both a duty and a right. But without diligence, willpower, and civic responsibility, society cannot persist and develop. Trust and cohesion. A trustworthy society with cohesion is a good and a safe place to live. We must always feel that we belong to the same community and share the same values and respect for each other. Did you hear that? We must always feel that we belong to the same community and share the same values and respect for each other. Society can only function if we trust each other and feel coherent. Without security, there is no cohesion. Where people feel safe in regard to their welfare, economic and physical safety, society thrives. The judicial system also, therefore, must be consistent and fair. Thus, a state of law where you can live in peace without fear of violence and criminality or terror is basic also. I think, as I get ready to go on, that I need to remind you that part of what this is revealing to us is the great amount of division amongst those who do advocate democratic socialism, and the great amount of difference there is between the core values of democratic socialism and many things that we have seen enacted throughout our country in the last, especially 2 years. Again, the core values of democratic socialism: democracy and civic education. Democratic socialism believes in democracy. A democracy should not have boundaries or contradictions between those who rule and those who are ruled. Any legally responsible person has the right to participate in democracy, and this can be done by voting at elections, expressing themselves freely, and by the right to assemble. Democracy requires access to information and opportunity for involvement. Additionally, a democracy requires education. Education in democracy, starting from kindergarten through the entire education system and on into lifetime learning. Another core value: sustainability and responsibility. It is important to remember that even today, humankind lives in a symbiosis with nature and its forces. Humans have a responsibility for taking care of nature and the animals with whom we share the planet. Therefore, we must take care of the environment and always seek to set up sustainable types of production. And now the last in my list of core values of democratic socialism. Democratic socialist views, that's not right. Democratic socialist values have no boundary. We seek to advance our principles in the world. We are an international political movement, and we believe that cross-border cooperation is beneficial. We wish for a world order built on rules and norms, a world that builds on rule of law and not rules of power. Therefore, we are in favor of active and committed cooperation between countries and people of the world. Hopefully now you see why I started off by saying not all socialists are Marxists or Leninists. You see, the 5% stands for cooperation, dialogue, respect, and problem solving. And knowing the definitions of the political language and labels we use is essential to changing the national conversation from all-out war to cooperation, dialogue, respect, and problem solving. We have enough dividing us to not allow inaccurate judgmentalism. Our conversations need to identify what the other individual or party's core beliefs are so that we can relate to where their words and ideas come from. We probably will not change our own beliefs and agendas, but we can respect and understand their reasoning and the underlying issues that are important to them. We can stop reacting from a base of fear and anger. That is the foundation of politics needed for cooperation, dialogue, respect, and problem solving to break the war and current dysfunction. Let us stop letting language divide us.